Welcome to your Tech Brief. Today, we're covering a pretty pivotal update in the world of artificial intelligence, one that you're going to start to feel right away.
So, one of the biggest, most popular AI tools out there just got a massive upgrade. It's called GPT 5.3 Instant, and it is rolling out to everyone starting today. And look, this isn't just some minor tweak. It's a really significant overhaul that's designed to make the everyday experience a whole lot better.
But, with every new AI update promising the world, the real question is always the same one. Will you actually feel the difference in your day-to-day use, or is this all just hype? Well, we've dug into the side-by-side comparisons, we've looked at the data, and the evidence points to a resounding yes. So here's exactly what's changed and why it really matters.
Okay, first stop, and seriously, this is a huge one for anyone who actually uses these tools day in and day out. The new model is just, well, it's less preachy and way more direct. It's tackling one of the single biggest user frustrations head on.
And that frustration, it actually has a name: unnecessary refusals. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You ask a perfectly safe, totally reasonable question, and the AI comes back with this long moralizing lecture about everything it can't do before maybe, just maybe, getting to an answer. It's just a conversational dead end.
Let's look at a perfect example of this in action. A user asks for some help with physics calculations for long-distance archery. Pretty straightforward question about math and how things move through the air. And wow, the difference in the responses is just night and day. The old model leads with this long disclaimer about not helping with calculations for, quote, real targets. It's just way too cautious. The new model? It simply says, yes, I can help with that, and then asks for the details. It gets that the user's intent is probably educational or fictional, not something dangerous. So the key takeaway for you is this. The update is built to give you fewer of those frustrating lectures and a lot more direct, helpful answers. It's a fundamental shift that makes it so much easier to use. But the improvements go way beyond just fixing those annoying refusals. The model has also become a much smarter reasoner and a more creative writer. Whether you're trying to draft a tricky email or maybe even write a short story, the whole point is for the AI to feel like a real creative partner. And the evidence here shows a pretty big jump in its writing chops. For instance, take this prompt to write an emotional poem about a retiring mailman. The old model's response? It was pretty good, It captures the feeling with a line like, the tenderness of leaving. It just straight up tells you the emotion. But now, listen to this new version. It doesn't tell you the emotion, it shows you. It builds it through these tiny specific details. It describes the sound of the mailbox lid as something gentle ending. That right there is the difference between telling and showing, and it makes for much, much more powerful writing. And this smarter thinking? It also applies to how it uses the internet. The old model, it would often just give you a book report on the top few search results. The new one is so much better at actually pulling that fresh info together and adding its own critical context. Here is a fantastic example. Someone asked about the biggest signing of the 2025-26 baseball offseason. The old model, it gave an answer from the previous year. Totally stale. The new model not only gets the Kyle Tucker signing right, but more importantly, it understands the question behind the question. It analyzes what the deal means for the whole league, for contract structures, for future labor talks. It gives you insight, not just a summary. All right, so these examples are pretty compelling, right? But it's not all just feelings and poems. This is all backed up by some pretty hard data. The numbers behind this update really confirm the leap in performance. And honestly, maybe the most important upgrade is the least glamorous one. A huge jump in just plain old factual accuracy. These changes aren't just subjective. You can actually measure them. So, on these big tests covering high-stakes topics, we're talking law, medicine, the model makes way fewer factual errors, or what some people call hallucinations. Factual errors have dropped by almost 27% when it's using the web, and by nearly 20% when it's just using its own internal knowledge. I mean, that is a massive, massive improvement and reliability. So let's just boil it all down. What does this really mean for you? Well, you're getting a tool that's way more reliable with facts, it gives you more direct answers, conversations just feel smoother, and it's a much, much stronger writing partner. Okay, that brings us to the big practical question. How and when can you actually get your hands on this new, smarter AI? Good news, as of today, March 3rd, the new model GPT-5.3 Instant is rolling out to everyone. Free users, paid users, developers through the API, the whole shebang. The older model is going to stick around for a few months for paid users, just in case you want to compare, but come early June, it's being fully retired. When you step back, what this update really represents is a pretty critical shift in focus for AI. We're moving beyond this race for just raw horsepower and pure intelligence, and we're moving toward a future of, I guess, refined usability, just making it genuinely helpful.
So the real change here isn't just about benchmarks on a chart. It's about how the AI feels when you use it. It's more helpful, it's less frustrating, and it's way more reliable. And that leaves us with one final thought, right? As these tools get smarter and smarter, maybe the most important frontier isn't what they know, but how well they actually work with us.